Jason had always thought his first year of college would be full of excitement and new friends. He imagined late-night study sessions, shared meals with roommates, and laughter echoing through the dorm halls. But nothing in his wildest dreams could have prepared him for this moment. He stood at the threshold of his assigned room, key trembling slightly in his hand. The door swung open, and his eyes widened in shock. It wasn't another human student who greeted him. Standing in the middle of the room was a creature unlike anything he had ever seen. Its body was tall and slender, with translucent skin that shimmered faintly, like moonlight reflected on rippling water. Jason noticed patterns moving beneath its skin, faint streaks of color that seemed to shift with every heartbeat. Its eyes were enormous, dark, and luminous, filled with a strange intelligence and a depth that made him feel both fascinated and uneasy. For a moment, Jason froze. He couldn't speak. The creature tilted its head, its gaze gentle but intensely curious. The alien's voice was soft, almost musical, a series of hums and tones that Jason couldn't understand at first. Then in halting English it said, "Hello, new home." Its words were careful, as if testing the sounds of a language it had only recently learned. Jason blinked, trying to process what was happening. Yeah, I guess so," he finally replied, his voice shaking. The alien nodded slowly as if satisfied and stepped aside to let him enter. The room felt suddenly smaller, the air heavier. Jason noticed faint lights flickering from the alien's body, tiny pulses that matched the rhythm of his own nervous heartbeat. As he placed his bag on the bed, Jason realized just how different this experience was from any college roommate he had imagined. He had lived with humans before, seen the occasional eccentric character in movies and books, but this was something else. The alien moved toward the window, studying the city skyline with fascination, its long fingers brushing lightly over the glass. Jason watched it, curiosity and fear warring in his chest. He wanted to speak, to ask questions, but the words felt small and inadequate. How do you talk to someone who isn't even fully human? The alien's attention shifted back to him, and it tilted its head, observing Jason in a way that felt deeply personal. "Do you eat?" it asked softly. Jason blinked, a small laugh escaping despite his tension. "Yeah, I eat. You do too, I guess," the alien hummed, a sound almost like a sigh, and moved to the small kitchenette. Jason noticed it examined the utensils carefully, touching each item gently as if it had never seen such things before. Watching it, he felt an odd mix of emotions: amazement, protectiveness, and a strange sense of kinship he couldn't yet name. Night began to fall outside, and the city lights reflected off the alien's shimmering form, creating soft patterns on the walls. Jason set up his bed, trying to ignore the rapid beating of his heart. The alien moved silently around the room, examining his books, laptop, and even the small posters on the wall. Each movement was graceful and careful, yet there was an undercurrent of curiosity, like it wanted to understand everything about this new world. Jason felt a strange empathy growing in him, realizing this being, as alien as it seemed, might also feel fear, loneliness, and uncertainty in a world that was entirely foreign to it. Hours passed, and silence settled between them. Jason lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling, and realized that the night ahead would be long. He was trapped in a room with a creature from another world, yet he no longer felt only fear. There was something fragile and human about the connection forming, a quiet recognition that despite their differences, they might find understanding. The night was just beginning, and Jason knew that what awaited them would challenge everything he thought he knew about life, fear, and friendship. The night grew deeper, and Jason tried to settle on his bed, but sleep felt impossible. Every subtle sound made him tense: the creak of the floor, the soft hum of the alien's glowing body, the occasional rustle of its limbs moving across the room. He couldn't stop thinking about how utterly different it was from him, yet somehow it didn't feel threatening, just foreign. The alien moved closer, and Jason instinctively took a step back. Its translucent skin glowed faintly in the dark, and he could see the delicate network of veins and shimmering lights beneath. To him, it seemed almost fragile, yet there was strength in the way it stood. Jason realized it might be watching him the same way he watched it, trying to understand, to measure, to read intentions. He swallowed hard, wishing he could bridge the impossible gap between them. Then came the gestures. The alien raised its hands slowly, tilting them as though performing a silent ritual. Jason flinched, unsure of whether to feel alarmed or curious. The creature's movements were graceful but strange, unlike any human gesture. It mimicked picking up objects, pointing to the door, then to its glowing chest, and finally to Jason. He frowned, trying to interpret the signs. Was it hungry, thirsty, confused? Each time he guessed incorrectly, the alien's hums shifted, almost like a sigh of frustration. Jason felt guilty, realizing that even though it looked alien, it relied on him to understand the world. To break the tension, Jason tried to speak softly. "Do you need water?" he asked, moving slowly toward the kitchenette. The alien's eyes widened slightly, and a soft trill escaped its mouth, a sound that made the hairs on Jason's neck stand up. He realized it was trying its best to communicate, just as he was. Hesitation melted into patience as Jason carefully handed it a glass. The alien's hands were surprisingly delicate, brushing his fingers in the process. A shock ran through Jason, not of fear but of connection. Even though they couldn't yet speak freely, a bridge was forming, built from understanding and trust. After a few minutes, Jason attempted another approach. He pointed to himself and said, "Jason," then nodded. The alien repeated the gesture, touching its chest with 2 fingers and tilting its head. Jason laughed quietly, its version of a name. That small interaction made him realize they could communicate, but it would require patience, observation, and care. The alien was intelligent, yes, but it was also learning, just like he had once learned new things in school. Suddenly, the alien's attention shifted to his laptop, which was still open on the desk. It extended a finger-like appendage and hovered it over the keyboard. Jason froze, fearing it might break something, but instead it carefully tapped a few keys. Characters appeared on the screen, random, strange, but intentional. The alien looked up, eyes glimmering with excitement. Jason felt a rush of wonder. Despite its alien nature, it was curious in a way humans were. It wanted to understand, to explore, to connect. Hours passed in this delicate dance. Jason learned the alien responded to gentle tones and slow movements. Loud noises made it flinch. When he hummed a tune softly, it hummed back, creating a strange harmony. In that quiet, strange, glowing room, fear slowly turned into fascination. The alien wasn't dangerous. It was learning, feeling, and existing in a world that had never been made for it. Jason realized that the alien's signals weren't threats. They were attempts at trust, gestures of vulnerability. By the early hours, Jason leaned back on his bed and watched the alien as it floated near the window, gazing at the city lights. A feeling of awe washed over him. He had entered this night expecting tension and fear, but instead he discovered something fragile and profound, the beginning of an understanding that transcended species. They were trapped in a room together, yes, but in that shared space, a quiet bond began to form, one that would be tested, deepened, and transformed as the night stretched on. The dorm was quiet, the city outside dim and distant, when suddenly the lights flickered and went out completely. Jason blinked, startled, and reached for his phone, only to realize it had no signal either. Darkness swallowed the room, leaving only the faint, ethereal glow emanating from his alien roommate. That soft light pulsed gently, casting shimmering patterns across the walls. Jason's heart pounded. Being in total darkness with a creature he barely understood was unnerving. He took a tentative step back, fumbling for the edge of his bed, when a soft vibration of sound reached his ears. It was the alien, humming in a low, melodic rhythm. The sound wasn't loud, but it had a strange calming effect, like a heartbeat syncing with his own. Jason realized with a mix of relief and awe that the alien wasn't scared, it was aware, sensing the change in the room and trying to soothe him. He swallowed and whispered, "It's okay, we're okay." The alien's eyes seemed to brighten in response, and it floated closer, moving with a grace that made Jason feel both smaller and oddly protected. The blackout was more than a simple inconvenience. It was a test of patience, courage, and understanding. Jason remembered all the stories he had heard about encounters with aliens, danger, hostility, mistrust. Yet here in this quiet dorm room, he realized none of those fears applied. This being wasn't an invader. It was curious, intelligent, and in its own way gentle. He felt a mix of admiration and humility. Somehow, they were sharing this strange, suspended moment together, two very different beings learning to coexist. Jason finally made his way to the window, carefully stepping over a pile of textbooks. The alien followed silently, its glow illuminating the room just enough for him to see the floor. Outside, the city's lights were out as well, leaving the stars above brilliant and untouchable. Jason looked at the sky and felt a sudden pang of loneliness, not fear, but a recognition of how small humans were in the vastness of the universe. Beside him, the alien seemed to sense the same feeling, its glowing form pulsing faintly, as if trying to communicate reassurance. They spent the next few minutes moving through the room in near silence, discovering each other's presence in ways words couldn't explain. The alien touched a book, a laptop, even Jason's bed gently, as though learning what these objects meant. Jason realized it wasn't trying to control or dominate, it was simply trying to understand. That realization melted his lingering anxiety. He whispered, "You don't need to be afraid of me either," and felt the alien's subtle glow flicker like a smile. Then came the sound of rain. At first it was soft, tapping against the window, but soon it grew heavier, streaking the glass with bright reflections from the alien's glow. Thunder rumbled in the distance and Jason flinched, instinctively wrapping his arms around himself. The alien floated closer and gently rested its long, glowing hand on his shoulder. A warmth radiated from it that was unlike anything Jason had felt before, soothing, protective, almost human in its comfort. He closed his eyes, letting the presence of the alien calm him. For the first time that night, fear was replaced by trust. Minutes stretched into hours. Jason found himself talking quietly, sharing small, mundane details of his life. His favorite childhood memory, a silly joke, the kind of stories he usually saved for friends. The alien listened, tilting its head, humming in soft patterns that seemed almost like laughter. Jason laughed too, a sound that felt strange in the dark room but also liberating. In that powerless, quiet night, a fragile bridge was forming. A bridge built on vulnerability, empathy, and an unspoken promise that neither would be alone in the darkness. When the storm outside began to ease, Jason realized something remarkable. The blackout had stripped away all barriers, all fear, and left only their presence. He was no longer just a human trapped with an alien. He was a companion, a friend, and perhaps, in some unspoken way, a protector. The night had changed, and so had he. The thunderstorm outside grew louder, rattling the windows and shaking the room as if the sky itself were angry. Rain splashed against the glass in sharp, uneven bursts, and lightning illuminated the alien's form in terrifying brilliance. Jason hugged his knees, feeling the tension knotting his chest. He had never been afraid of storms, but tonight everything felt amplified. Every shadow looked alive, every sound echoed like a warning. The alien floated near the window, its glowing body flickering with the rhythm of the lightning. For the first time, Jason noticed the subtle tremor in its stance. The creature wasn't just observing, it was reacting, almost mirroring the human instinct to fear the storm. Jason's heart softened. Despite its strength and intelligence, it could feel vulnerability. He realized that in this shared fear, they were equal, bound by the simple truth that they were alone together in the dark, at the mercy of forces neither could control. Jason slowly got up from the bed, taking careful steps toward the alien. "Hey, it's just a storm," he said softly, unsure if the words would even reach it. The alien turned, its luminous eyes meeting his, and a strange vibration pulsed through the air, a sound almost like a sigh. Jason instinctively reached out, offering his hand. The alien hesitated, then extended a delicate appendage, brushing his fingers in a tentative, trusting gesture. That small touch sent a jolt through Jason, not fear, but connection. In that moment, he understood that trust didn't need words. Lightning struck closer this time, and the room flickered in blinding white light. Jason instinctively pulled the blanket over his shoulders, but the alien gently pressed against it, nudging it down. Its glow brightened, filling the room with warmth. Jason felt a strange mixture of awe and responsibility. This being, so unlike anything on Earth, was allowing him to comfort it. He whispered soothing words, more to steady himself than for the alien's sake, and felt the rhythm of its pulsing glow slow in response. The fear in the room began to dissolve, replaced by a fragile understanding. Hours passed in silence, broken only by the rain and the alien's hums. Jason tried to communicate, pointing at objects in the room, nomming them aloud. The alien repeated gestures, tapping its glowing fingers on the bed, the desk, even his shoes, creating patterns that Jason slowly began to recognize. Each time they connected, a warmth spread through his chest. He realized they were learning from each other, not just words or signs, but emotions, patience, and empathy. Then came the first crack of thunder that seemed impossibly close. Jason flinched, and the alien suddenly reached out, wrapping a luminous arm around him. It was neither heavy nor suffocating. It was firm, protective, and utterly alive. Jason froze, overwhelmed by the strange tenderness of the moment. He realized that strength wasn't only physical. The alien was strong in ways humans rarely understood, emotionally, instinctively, and through a quiet resilience that could face storms both outside and within. The storm began to ease, rain softening into a gentle drizzle, lightning retreating behind clouds. Jason exhaled deeply, feeling the tension drain from his body. The alien hovered beside him, its glow dimmer but steady, a comforting presence in the quiet room. Jason sat on the bed, realizing that fear and wonder could coexist, and that courage didn't always mean facing a battle. It sometimes meant staying present, understanding another being, and offering comfort when neither spoke the same language. By the first hints of dawn, the room had changed. Shadows softened, and the alien's glow reflected calm certainty. Jason felt a bond stronger than fear, curiosity, or even awe. He had started the night uncertain, anxious, and cautious. But now, in this fragile, glowing light, he realized the night had given him something more than understanding. It had given him a friend. The night had deepened into an almost tangible silence. Jason lay on his bed, listening to the faint hums of his alien roommate. The storm had passed, leaving a calm that felt almost sacred. The alien hovered near the window, its glow soft and steady, casting gentle reflections across the room. Jason realized he hadn't felt this quiet, this small human connection in a long time. Then, without warning, the alien moved closer to him. Its glowing fingers gently tapped the edge of his notebook. Jason's pulse quickened. He wasn't sure what the gesture meant, curiosity, playfulness, or something deeper. The alien tilted its head and let out a sequence of melodic hums, longer and more intentional than before. Jason leaned forward slowly. "I don't fully understand, but I'm listening," he whispered. For the first time, words formed in the alien's voice that Jason could understand. "Not alone, I trust you," it said, its tone soft, almost fragile. Jason felt his chest tighten. The room, the night, and the quiet hum of the city outside seemed to shrink until it was just the two of them, sharing something impossible to describe. The alien's glow pulsed in time with his heartbeat, and he realized that fear and uncertainty had melted into something unspoken yet profound: connection. Jason swallowed hard and reached out. "You can trust me," he murmured. The alien's hand brushed his lightly, warmer than he had expected, and a strange energy pulsed between them. He understood in a way words could never capture that this being had journeyed across galaxies, far from home, and now, in the darkness of a small dorm room, had chosen to place its trust in him. The realization overwhelmed him. They began communicating in new ways, using gestures, hums, and simple words. Jason shared small stories of his childhood, how he used to climb trees, play in the rain, and stare at the stars, imagining worlds beyond Earth. The alien listened, tilting its head and humming softly, its glow shifting colors with each story. When Jason told a funny tale about his clumsy attempts at cooking, the alien's hums changed to a higher, playful tone. Jason laughed quietly, the sound feeling both strange and comforting in the stillness. Then he spoke of more personal things, his fears, his doubts about the future, the weight of responsibility he carried as the eldest in his family. The alien remained near him, pulses of soft light brushing against his arm as if offering silent reassurance. For the first time, Jason felt he was not just talking to another being, but truly being heard. It was a listening so complete, so devoid of judgment, that it made him feel understood in ways humans rarely could. Hours passed like minutes. Jason realized that the alien, too, had its own stories, its own fears, and its own loneliness. Though he couldn't fully comprehend them, he could sense the longing for connection. In a quiet, trembling voice, he said, "We're friends, right?" The alien's glow brightened and it floated closer, nudging him gently. That small gesture, simple, luminous, and deliberate, was all the confirmation he needed. By midnight, a profound calm had settled over the room. Jason sat on the edge of his bed, staring at his alien roommate, and felt an emotion stronger than curiosity, stronger than fear. It was awe, yes, but also humility. In this small dorm room, in the shared silence and fragile trust, he had glimpsed something extraordinary. The simple, quiet power of understanding another being, bridging differences not with force or reason, but with empathy. As the city slept outside, Jason realized the night had transformed him. He had entered it uncertain, anxious, and tentative. Now he sat bathed in the soft glow of an alien friend, feeling a connection that transcended species, distance, and language. The midnight revelation wasn't just that the alien trusted him. It was that he, too, had opened himself to trust something entirely unknown, and in doing so, had discovered a depth of courage, empathy, and wonder within himself that he had never known before. Jason had begun to relax, thinking the night's tension was finally behind him. He and the alien sat near the window, quietly observing the first faint hints of dawn light filtering into the room. The alien's glow was soft, steady, and comforting. For the first time that night, Jason allowed himself to believe they were safe, that the storm had passed and the long night of uncertainty was ending. Then came the sudden noise, a loud metallic clatter at the dorm door that made Jason jump. His heart raced, and the alien stiffened beside him. Jason's first instinct was fear. The sound was harsh, unnatural, and threatening. The doorknob rattled violently, followed by a series of mechanical whirs and bangs. A maintenance robot from the hallway had gone haywire, its sensors malfunctioning in the storm. The machine's bright red lights reflected in the alien's glowing eyes, casting eerie shadows across the walls. Jason froze, unsure what to do. He wanted to protect himself, but at the same time he instinctively wanted to shield the alien. Its body shimmered nervously, pulsating faster than before, and it extended a luminous appendage toward him as if to reassure him, and perhaps to ask for his guidance. The roles had subtly reversed. The human was now the protector, even as he marveled at the alien's intelligence and grace. He whispered, "Stay close, I'll handle this." The robot slammed against the door again, trying to push it open. Jason realized he had to act quickly. He grabbed a nearby chair and wedged it under the doorknob, hopping to slow the machine's progress. The alien floated beside him, its glow intensifying in rapid, staccato bursts. Jason noticed that, when he reached out, the alien responded, positioning itself in front of the door as a living shield. Its body shimmered and pulsed in waves of light, creating a visual barrier that made Jason feel both awed and comforted. The mechanical menace persisted, clanging and rattling. Jason's fear was palpable, but the alien remained calm, intelligent, and deliberate. It emitted a series of melodic hums that reverberated through the room, almost like a warning signal. Jason watched in amazement as the robot hesitated, its sensors picking up something he could not see or understand. It stopped banging against the door, frozen as though sensing the alien's strange energy field. Jason realized that this being was not just intelligent. It had instincts, perception, and a silent authority beyond anything human. Minutes stretched into tense eternity. The robot finally retreated, moving back down the hallway as its red lights dimmed. Jason exhaled, hands shaking, his chest pounding. The alien's glow softened and it floated beside him, its delicate fingers brushing against his arm in reassurance. Jason felt a rush of emotion, fear, relief, gratitude, and awe all at once. He realized that the night had tested them both, their courage, their trust, and their ability to work together despite vast differences. For the first time, Jason truly saw the alien not just as a roommate or a mystery, but as a being capable of protection, empathy, and understanding on a level beyond human imagination. And yet, he also saw its vulnerability, its reliance on him to navigate certain dangers. Their bond had grown stronger, forged in moments of tension and shared fear. The alien pulsed gently against him, a soft, warm rhythm that spoke volumes in the quiet aftermath. As the first real sunlight began to creep across the room, Jason sank onto the bed, exhausted but exhilarated. He looked at the alien and smiled faintly. "We did it," he said. The alien's glow flickered in what Jason chose to interpret as a smile. They had survived the night together, faced an unexpected threat, and emerged not just unharmed but closer than before. Jason realized that courage wasn't just facing monsters or storms. It was also staying present, trusting another being, and offering protection without expectation. The alien had taught him that, in its own way, just as much as he had supported it. Together, they had turned fear into understanding, danger into connection. The night had transformed both of them, leaving an unspoken promise of friendship and trust that neither would forget. The first light of dawn crept slowly into the room, softening the shadows and casting a gentle warmth over the small dorm. Jason sat on the edge of his bed, still tired from the long night, yet his heart was full of a strange mix of awe, relief, and gratitude. The alien hovered nearby, its glow dimmer now in the morning light but steady, a quiet reminder that it had survived, and that together they had faced the unknown. Jason reached out, touching the alien's glowing arm gently. "We made it through," he said softly, almost in disbelief. The alien's eyes, vast and luminous, blinked slowly, pulsing in rhythm with his own heartbeat. Jason realized in that moment that what they had shared in the darkness was something far greater than fear or survival. It was trust. It was understanding. It was friendship forged under circumstances neither of them had expected. He remembered the first time he had seen it in the room, awkward, strange, and utterly alien. Back then, he had been scared. Now he felt a deep sense of connection. The alien had shown him that even beings from entirely different worlds could experience emotions, vulnerability, and the desire for companionship. And he, a human, had been able to respond with empathy, patience, and courage. He felt proud, not in a boastful way, but in a quiet, meaningful way that reached deep into his soul. The alien hovered closer and tapped his shoulder lightly, producing a soft, musical hum. Jason leaned down, listening carefully. "I understand," he whispered, though the words were more for himself than for the alien. "I understand that we're not so different after all." The alien's glow brightened slightly, and it floated around him in small, deliberate patterns as if acknowledging his words. Jason realized that their silent language, the gestures, hums, and glances of the past night, had become something profound. They didn't need more words. They had already shared a story far richer than language could convey. The sun climbed higher, warming the room. The alien's glow gradually softened, pulsing slower, a sign that it was ready to rest. Jason felt a pang of sadness. The night had been intense, full of fear, learning, and connection, and now it was ending. Yet he also felt a quiet joy, knowing that this being from worlds beyond his understanding had chosen to trust him, and that he had done the same. For a moment, he imagined the vast universe beyond the window, filled with countless stars, planets, and civilizations. And he realized that even in that immensity, bonds like this were possible. Jason sat back on the bed, his eyes fixed on the alien. "You're safe," he said simply, the words carrying all the weight of the night. The alien floated to a corner, curling into a relaxed, resting shape, its glow soft but constant. It didn't need words to tell him that it was grateful. The shared understanding was enough. They had survived the night together, faced storms and unexpected dangers, and emerged stronger, bonded by trust and empathy. He took a deep breath, letting the emotion of the past hours wash over him. Fear had turned into courage. Uncertainty had transformed into connection, and isolation had blossomed into friendship. Jason realized that he would never forget this night, the night he had spent trapped with an alien, yet had discovered something far more profound: the power of understanding, the beauty of empathy, and the extraordinary resilience of the human spirit when faced with the unknown. As sunlight filled the room completely, Jason looked at his alien roommate one last time. Their eyes met, and for a fleeting moment words were unnecessary. A simple nod, a shared pulse of light, and a hum that echoed with warmth and trust conveyed everything that needed to be said. Then, quietly, the alien settled down to rest. Jason smiled, knowing that although the night was over, the bond they had formed would remain forever. An invisible bridge between worlds, built on trust, courage, and the quiet heroism of simply being human.